Washington and Texas, the Huskies and the Longhorns face off. Joe, what do you think would win in a fight, a Husky or Bevo, the Longhorn?
If there was a pack of Huskies, maybe. I think a singular Husky wouldn't fare too well. I think that's an uphill battle.
It's a very, very big uphill battle. But for the first time in history, I told the Washington fans this yesterday, we will, if you want to know places to eat in New Orleans, for the first time, Joe, Washington is going to the Sugar Bowl to face Texas, who has been to the Sugar Bowl a couple of times. Joe, I got to admit, both of these teams have been a big talking point all year on this show. All year, okay? Whether I do this, we're back, or me talking about how I just don't think that Washington is a complete team, nor do I think that they are. I keep doubting them every week, okay? And they keep proving me wrong. Joe, these are arguably the two worst secondaries that we've ever had in the playoff. Washington is 120th in the country in passing yards allowed. Texas is 95th. I think that Michael Penix and the boys, McMillan, Ondunze, Polk, and the boys, are going to light Texas up with their secondary. They have not shown the ability to be able to stop dudes with the dudes in their back five. But, man, why do I lean that Texas is just going to be more physical on both lines of scrimmage?
Blake, you've made it. Actually, I'm going to say it's not just you. Everyone who has picked against Washington has made the same mistake. They have come in every single game saying this singular team has this better, or particularly when we talked about Oregon twice, and everybody talked about Oregon twice. Those who picked Oregon said that they're going to be more physical up front. They're going to come downhill. They're going to establish the run, all of that stuff. And it doesn't matter because of the way that Washington plays. And I have compared it to a fast break basketball team. That is how they play. They're quick to get the ball out. They attack downfield. They have the best receiving core in college football in terms of production. The three best receivers in college football. And when one guy's not open, somebody else is. That ability to stress defenses has taken away that ability to be physical, in my opinion. Because the minute that they go up by a score or so, you're trying to play catch-up. You can't be physical when you're trying to play catch-up. And that's what we saw happen with Oregon twice. And that's what we've seen in all the other games where they've tried to get physical with them.
Yeah, but they ain't seen a rush defense like this, though. You got a top 3 rushing defense in Texas. And look, I came out here yesterday talking about Dylan Johnson and how he's just exploded. I mean, look, man, Dylan Johnson has 1,100 yards on the year, 14 rushing touchdowns. He has really picked it up. He has looked really good. But, Joe, I just don't know with that front seven of Texas that they're going to be able to establish any form of a running game. I'm not telling them to bail on it. I'm not telling them not to run the football because I think they can still run the football a little bit. The only way that I see Washington getting over the top here, Joe, they're going to have to expose Texas' secondary like everybody else has.
Yeah, they just got to play their game. Don't overthink it. They got to
play their game. And I think they can do it. But here's another thing, too. Joe, statistically speaking, Washington's secondary is not as good as what we just saw at Oklahoma State, and we just saw what Quinn Ewers did in the first half. They have dudes all over the place. Now, what is Xavier Worthy's health going to be like? You know, that's a whole different question. But, Joe, they got dudes all over the place. I think the young back, the freshman back, number 7.
Cedric Baxter is the really good back that they have, the freshman.
Okay, so Cedric Baxter. Did you see that kid last week?
He played a great game.
Connie Mitchell going off. The Sanders kid, the tight end. Joe, he is a physical nightmare for anybody on that team for Washington.
Great player.
So when I just go pro versus con, I look, I think that this could be a 3-point game. I'm not going to pick it yet because I know the Huskies fans don't want me to do it.
Boo.
I just don't know. Even though that they've played Oregon, I don't know if they've played a team more physical than this. I don't think that they have. Oregon's a good football team, but we literally saw an Alabama team who got pushed around by Texas, right? In week 2. That's what everybody talked about, was just how physical Texas was. We're about to find out.
I get that, and I understand that. First of all, the availability of Xavier Worthy is going to be really critical for them being able to keep up with Washington. Because if they said that he's going to be fine, that's the expectation, but he was in a boot pretty quickly. The X-rays might be negative, but it does not mean that he's not dealing with a bad ankle or foot injury. And that, for a wide receiver, it's critical. You're not going to just going to be a decoy out there running in. Just Adonai Mitchell is not going to beat Washington. You need full strength.
But they have the Sanders kid who they've gone to in critical situations.
Yeah.
And they got dudes in that room now. They have dudes. I'm not saying they don't need Xavier Worthy, but Joe, if there's a team in the playoff right now that you don't need him against, it's this secondary.
The big thing for me, though, if Texas wins this game, they can't do what Oregon did and be completely full of themselves and say, you know what? We're more physical. We're bigger than them up front. We're just going to dominate them and play our game. You can't do that shit. You just can't, because they're going to – Penix is going to expand the pocket, and he's going to find ways to connect with his receivers. He has such a great pocket awareness, and the ball comes out way too quick that even when he's off platform, he's going to find ways to connect with them. You have to send pressure. You have to be aggressive. And they've shown a willingness to do that, but they cannot come into this game and think, oh, we got them. We're going to rush 4. We can do this. You are going to get burned just like Oregon did twice and like every other team that's gone up against them. You have to send pressure, because we've seen Michael Penix, when he's got pressure in his face, and he's got a lot of pressure in his face, he will make a mistake. He will turn the ball over. He will throw the ball away, and they will get a 3 and out. You have to be aggressive.
I don't want to pick against them again because I have so much.
I think Washington fans want you to pick against them.
They want me to pick against them. I might just use reverse psychology and then get pissed off at me. You're right. I do think that you just can't go in there and think that you're going to bully him, right? Like, you can't. Don't be that naive. But, here's the truth, though, Joe. I don't think Sark is that type of dude. Like, Sark has more skins on the wall, okay, to know, like, hey, man, this team is 13-0. Teams have tried to bully them, and they couldn't. Maybe we should play a little finesse. Now, we got to run the football, but we got to do what we do. I think that they do ultimately, because I just think that, Joe, at the end of the day, okay, now I just think Texas is just the overall better team, and I say that every week. But is it really like vastly so much better? Because their secondary stinks. Their secondary stinks. It's a 3-point game. But here's the thing for Washington. You can clip this one if you want to. Here's the thing for Washington for me, Joe. Having McMillan back, this receiving core is just insanely good. And I don't know if you give this team a month that they don't pick you apart defensively. Like, I think, and look, we saw how we've gone this long without mentioning this game. We saw this game in a bowl game last year. And what did Washington do?
Alamo Bowl rematch. No, you're right.
Alamo Bowl rematch. But what did they do? Joe, I've heard from Texas fans all year long that this secondary was good. What game am I watching? Like, what am I watching? Because I see one of the worst secondaries in college football right now. They don't have the corners. They do not have the, and I got to tell you, the safeties are young and they will be better. But Joe, for crying out loud, sometimes I'm watching film and asking, what are you doing? Like, you got to give help to the corner. That is your job. I don't know if Penix doesn't go in there and eat. I think that they're going to go in there and eat Texas alive, dude.
I think that he's going to have a phenomenal game. I keep seeing a lot of people saying that Texas got the better matchup. I completely disagree. This is the best possible circumstance. Yeah. Because I would
matchup for Texas.
Depending on if Washington wins, having to play having to play Michigan or Alabama, like Alabama's going to give them a real challenge because they can actually man up with them on the outside and just load the box and come after Michael Penix. And then the other side, like Michigan, can do a very similar play style. So yeah, no, this is the better matchup here is for Washington, assuming that they don't make a bunch of silly mistakes and Sark doesn't call a crazy cooked up game. I still am going to ride with the dogs because I've done it all season long.
I'm not picking it yet.
My picks are in Alabama, Washington. My picks are in.
You know who else another lefty that lit up Texas?
Dillon Gabriel.
So let's do this. You know Dillon Gabriel's in the portal?
He is in the portal.
Listen to me. The best offense at the time that they played them, Texas, was Oklahoma.
They didn't play so great.
They didn't play so great. So all I'm going to say is, Joe, I'm not picking it yet because I'm literally thinking about picking Washington. But the bottom line comes, dude, if you get beat by 2 left-handed quarterbacks in a year, you should quit football all in general.
Make sure you check out BetOnline for all of your sports betting needs. For anything that I do betting related, I go on over to betonline.ag and I use promo code BELIEVE50. BetOnline has all of the latest updated odds for the NFL and college football seasons. Anything you need, whether it's futures, live in-game betting, no matter what, your football betting needs are met at BetOnline. And again, make sure you use that promo code BELIEVE50, BLEAV 50 to get a 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline, where the game